Hey everybody, this is Jennifer O'Toole, and I want to welcome you to this next episode of Speaking Geek. And I'm not going to waste too much time on telling you that, once again, it's taken a little longer than I wanted to upload. And there's a couple of reasons why. One of them is being flat out honest. This has been a really, really tough season for my family. And when it comes right down to it, guess who's in charge of making sure things go maybe okay is a little strong, but keep on going on. And so I have to admit, this has been one of the hardest seasons in a long time. And some of you have sort of said that you've noticed that, or maybe picked up on little things from my from some of the podcasts, maybe. But there's a lot more. So just if you're a praying person, go for it. If you're a positive energy vibe sending out thing, go for it. Feel like jumping in a TARDIS somewhere and I don't know, spinning and going somewhere and then taking me someplace fun. I'm good with that. Light side, I gotta admit, I'm a light side chick in case you haven't noticed. Whatever the case is. I'm being honest, it's been really, really tough, and there've been days I just really haven't had the heart. I feel like if I don't have the heart to or insight to be doling out the wisdom, I feel like a fake, why should I? Why should I bother sitting here telling you what to do if things go wrong in my life? Of course, then I guess if you play against that, then who ought to bother, because nobody's got the perfect life. Okay, so now I'm going to get all transcendental and existential. But let's not do that instead, huh? So anyway, what I love about you guys, among many other things, is that it seems like just when I'm ready to go, you know what, forget it, I can't even. Somebody reaches out and says, hey, your microphone fell. See? Do you see what I'm saying? Although there's an expression I love, which is, careful not to look down, sweetheart, or else your tiara might fall. Or in this case, microphone. And this person reached out and said, hey, where are your videos? I missed them. You know what? I can't tell you how much that meant to me. And I'm also going to be really honest. I love that I can give you Speaking Geek for free. That is super important to me. Asper Kids, the company, which kind of came out of nowhere, out of the success of the books, which again, I always say the books are successful just because they're saying things that I'm not the only person who needed to hear or, know, right? That's all. The company depends on people supporting us. So whether that's through purchasing downloads or our kits of awesomeness or whatever you find on the site that delights you, the truth is that we've got to make that part work financially in order to make this part work for you. So if you haven't explored asperkids.com, please do, because the reality is that without that part, we can't do this part. And that would be terrible, right? Okay, so one other thing, you're going to hear a little clinking. So I often say, we should not change who we are to accommodate the rest of the world, but at the same time, we do have to realize the impact of what we do on the rest of the world and the way it is perceived. And my go-to fidget is my hair. It's because it's here, and so it's just easy. But in watching some videos back and hearing folks ask, I'm not primping for a camera. And I'm afraid that might distract somebody, or that might come across. I'm fidgeting with the closest thing. So instead, today I'm going to try one of my favorite teen fans in Arizona, Nikolai. When I say stalked, that sounds all creepy, but went around looking for the right hotel where I was staying one night when I was giving a keynote, and God bless him. He's really into geology and rocks, and he brought me his favorite rocks, which I realized that to maybe the rest of the world sounds like, wow, he brought you rocks, which is like the Charlie Brown. Got a bag of rocks. Except for, see, that's where you know that a gift is about not the substance, it's about the person and the emotional investment. I still have my whole little window here is lined with those rocks, because to me, he gave me his treasure, right? And that meant a lot. So Nikolai, you're my fidget tonight. I'm just going to try. This is another one of those topics that I honestly think to do right, we're probably going to have to break it down into two podcasts, which I will make sure that we do right in a row, because it's really, really important. And it's the difference between reacting and responding. Now, here she goes, plug, but I'm serious, okay? I really, really, really ask you, this is literally the only chapter number of any of my books that I know by heart. Chapter 25 of the Secret Book of Social Rules. I'm begging you, if you do not have that book, please get over to the website, grab yourself a copy. Chapter 25 is about standing up for yourself, again. But it's more than that. It's told, like everything in that book, from a firsthand experience of my own. And I think a lot of us have a hard time knowing that, well, maybe even realizing there is a difference between reacting and responding. And it's weird because if you do a little like psychological research, what you'll read is that reacting, I mean, you even hear the word act, like action in there, yeah? So that it's more emotionally based and driven, and so therefore more spontaneous and less planned out, and just just emotive, right? And that responding to something is more, while still passionate and still invested with emotion, it is more conscious, more logic driven. And hence the irony, enter the irony, because we're supposed to, don't you love that, like, we're supposed to, what, who said, anyway, no, but by and large, we know that a lot of folks on the spectrum tend to be more logically driven than, well, at least than the world thinks they are emotionally driven. Here's my little 2 cents, okay? So the Dalai Lama, I have to look down here because I don't want to misquote the Dalai Lama, but he said that when you talk, you're only repeating what you know. It's only when you listen that you learn something. And so here I am talking, but I'm telling you something that I've kind of come up with by listening a lot, which is, everybody says we're so logic driven and all that. Well, okay, that's true, but and one of my big lines, you guys know, is it's and not but, right? There's usually more to it. One's exclusionary, one's inclusive, and this is an and. And I think a lot of times we use logic. It's like, I find myself over explaining words or making sure, does that make sense? Asking that a lot. Talking too much if I'm not getting a good read on whether or not somebody is understanding me. Well, why am I doing that? It's not because I want to over and over and over and over and over prove the logic of my point. It's because I'm really concerned that I'm going to be misunderstood, and that when I'm misunderstood, things go very badly, very fast. And so I think in a lot of ways that, we have hearts that have been squashed a lot for a long time, a lot of us. And so I think one of the ways that we try to figure the world out and therefore protect our extremely human, just like everybody else's, hearts is by using logic, by using deductive reasoning, by becoming little, I mean, the whole Secret Book of Social Rules, you guys, was me sitting around and going, okay, so I have this Asperger's thing, so like now let me watch people and like check out all the things that they do that they don't even realize they're doing, right? I mean, I was being a social anthropologist. I was applying logic to things that other people didn't think of as logical at all. They just were. But what was that about? It wasn't about like, ooh, let me do a study and therefore like publish a thesis. No, it was me using logic to get at the emotion, like to find a way to protect my heart and to better invest my heart and give my heart. Because I am definitely, I think, a much more emotional person than I am logical person. Analytical? Heck yeah. But why am I doing it again? Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's solving a puzzle. Sometimes it's really being interested. I totally get off on watching people do their thing, like whatever they're good at, whatever they're interested in, they're passionate about. Even if I just got nothing, like I don't know any like a whole much about rocks, but Nikolai's passion made me interested in what he was saying, you know? So as we talk about this reaction response thing, I don't know. I just think I might have to take some issue with this idea that reaction is emotion and response is logic driven, because I think that sometimes logic is simply a way of couching and protecting the most vulnerable hearts, the emotions of the most vulnerable hearts. That might be a quote, who knows? Anyway, so why in the heck is this logic or is this reaction response thing important? Okay, the deal is that a lot of the time the world kind of feels, as we all know, I mean, it just happened to me the other day. I'm in Michael's, you know, the craft store. I'm like I'm running around trying to get a couple different things that I needed, and then all of a sudden I'm getting texts from somebody who was upset with me and really upset, and I'm literally standing there shaking to the point where somebody comes over and, ma'am, are you okay? And you know. Ugh. Okay, see, the thing is, that's a reaction, right? When we live in a world that doesn't feel predictable, that feels much more chaotic than it does to others, we are apt to find ourselves on an off footing. We're apt to see sabotage. We're apt to see people out to try to get us when they're actually out to try to love us. I know that's something I'm working with somebody I care about right now. The possibility that actually there's no underhandedness except care and love. It's hard. It's hard to get past so many years of having to protect yourself. I get that. But the problem is that when we react, and reacting simply means that something happens, there's a trigger, whatever that trigger is. We feel something, somebody asks us for something. A lot of times that's it. Somebody asks us for something, or we feel unable to deliver, or we find ourselves in a situation that's new, or that we think we're interpreting right, but maybe we're not. Okay, that's when reaction happens. And you know a reaction happens. Sort of think about it like when you say, I'm having an allergic reaction to something, right? You feel it physically first. So that's kind of your first alarm that I'm having a reaction. And we're going to talk more about what that is. But the reason this is important to know is because your reaction is not going to get you where you want. It might in the short term make you feel safer, but it's going to make you safer by making you lonelier. And that's, you know, when you go the whole, well, fine, whatever, I don't need the world, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I'm going to just sit here and tell you BS, which means bologna salami. It's not true. We do. We do. We need other people. We need to feel successful and validated and important and cared about. We do. We also need to have jobs. And in order to have jobs and be able to be independent in this world, guess what else we need? We need to not fly off the handle, or we need to not under or overreact, right? When it's not necessary. So how do we know when it is necessary? And how do we know when we're reacting, which is just simply, you know, like an if then, cause effect, flip a switch, light goes on, light goes off. That's reaction, just happens. There's no pause, there's no contemplation. It is the most basic and primal thing that we do. Think of it as a baby. You're happy, it's good, blah, blah, blah. There's a light in your eye. You react, you cry, you don't like it. You're hungry, you don't like it, you cry. It's a reaction, okay? So this is when you're going to start looking for, if you want to know if you're reacting more than you ought to be, what I want you to do is start analyzing or just checking in, forget that whole analyzing thing, just check in with yourself for the next couple days, right? Check in with yourself the next time something, someone, a situation makes you feel, and your physical feelings may be different. For me, I shake, or I feel like the bottom of my stomach is dropping out. For others, it can be that they blush, they flush, here even, right? The tightness, not being able to breathe. I know I get that too. That comfortable feeling. A lot of times you'll see, flapping when you're happy. Not me. I kind of do this, and it looks. I guess maybe because I'm not happy, because I'm stressing. This looks a little like less, I don't know, autistic than others, because I'm just literally going, okay, kind of like trying to shake out the nerves. I keep looking down at my notes because I have a whole page of notes because this is so important. You need to start looking and noticing what kinds of moments are eliciting these, like, what's the commonality, what's happening, and then you feel tight, nauseous, can't breathe, afraid, fight, flight, blah blah blah. What happened right before? Did someone ask you to do something? Are you in a new situation? Did a plan change? What's the case? Okay, because here's the thing, there are these like famous 6 steps to avoid reacting and make sure that instead you respond, which we'll talk about next time. And you know what? They are the most impractical, completely irrelevant to anybody on the spectrum things I've ever read. Like, I'm just, think about the big picture. Oh, okay, thanks. Anybody want to read again social rule book? Like, there's a chapter where there's a whole Thanksgiving table, and there's like, and the girl's all like, "Ooh, look, mashed potatoes." We get to the toenail of the matter. People ask us to look at the big picture or the situation in context. Oh, okay. We can't even necessarily pull out, the important words in a sentence or main idea of what our best friend, our most beloved, well-known person is trying to get across easily. And we're supposed to just, yeah. So I'm going to translate that for you. Not now, but next week we're going to translate that. But right now, what I want you to understand is a reaction is instinctive. It's basic, it's human, it's not something you should feel embarrassed about, but it does get you in trouble. And I can tell you one thing right away. First tip, besides analyzing how your body's feeling, right, is this. I love Downton Abbey, and there is no character better than McGonagall. I'm so sorry, Dowager Countess, right? Maggie Smith. There's no better line than vulgarity is no substitute for wit. I'm not telling you that you need to sound like you're in, kindergarten and never say anything remotely improper. What I'm telling you is that's incredibly unimaginative, and also can offend people in ways that you really may not even get, but it'll get you in big trouble. And even if it doesn't, it really does reduce other people's opinions of you. So before I give you better tips next week, just clamp down on that one. If it's not something you'd say to your grandmother, don't say it. It's no substitute for wit. And wit is the humor of the intelligent. So there's that. And that's a biggie. And to remember that it is okay to be passionate, and that when I say not to lose control, that's what we'll be talking about. I don't mean in some of the better moments in life. I mean in the moments where you lose the best parts of you. So this week, your assignment. How often am I reacting? How often am I simply instinctively taking action that is perhaps less than me, that is without thought, without premeditation, without really an idea of where I'm trying to go on a map? And perhaps being vulgar, being smarmy, being sassy, Let me just tell you, that impresses nobody. And you know, everybody's like, oh, I never come up with good comebacks, blah, 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 blah. Well, me neither. Good. You know what a comeback is? A comeback is like, oh, I feel the need to try to be like all tough and smart with my words. You know what that says? It says that you're already at a point of disadvantage. You're already the underdog. You're already on the defensive. You're already uncomfortable. You're already at a disadvantage. Don't bother. You know, the best comeback is that for me that I've ever found, if somebody says something like ridiculous, like first of all, there's one, there are several that I just kind of adore that are in the sisterhood. One of them is if somebody ever calls you like, you know, weird or a freak or whatever, you just say purple tuna fish, like, and just like that, not like purple tuna fish, but purple tuna fish. They will of course have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay. But the point is, if they're going to say something completely ridiculous, then you can too. Aside from that, you do this. Walk away. Just don't roll your eyes. Because there's that line, you roll your eyes, maybe you'll find something, some brains back there. See, somebody could be smarmy about that. Mean. Just go, smile. Serious. Be surprised. I'm not telling you they're not going to call after you, but they are going to keep doing it until you react. I know. I know. Nikolai, thanks. I know I still play with my hair, but thanks for these. You guys, think about it this week. No vulgarity. Start thinking about wit and ways to point things out without being vicious or pointed or mean or come back, right? And notice your body's instinctive responses to stress. And yeah, next week we'll start looking at some ways to respond consciously in ways that actually make sense for those of us on the spectrum. You know, unlike blend logic and emotion easily. Who is this guy? Anyway, I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks again. And thanks for remembering to support asperkids.com, the AK shop of awesomeness. There's some awesome, well, that was redundant. There's some really great resources there, like resources that don't exist anywhere else in the world. And that's why I created them. And that's why they're there. If you like what we're doing here, you got to get over there and help us keep this going. Thanks so much, everyone. And I promise, talk to you this week even. Bye, everybody. Have a fabulously, reactively wonderful week.